Welcome to a very special edition of the Our 2 Cents podcast. And it's special for so many reasons. So many reasons. I mean, where do we begin? Number one, we're in a closet room right now that's serving as our studio in Astoria. Shout out to QED Studios for providing the space for us. I wanted to do something special for this podcast.
Great sponsorship.
No doubt. It was a big weekend. Massive. And when it's a big weekend, you got to get a big guest. Always got to get a big guest.
Big movements only.
Sitting across from me all the way from Valentine Avenue.
From the Bronx Islands.
Fahad Khan, welcome to the show, man. It's always a pleasure to have you back.
Thank you. Yo. It's a pleasure. When was the last time? Mission Impossible?
I think so. And we have 3 mics for the first time ever on this show.
Here we go.
Kind of crazy.
3 mics so we can all talk all over each other instead of waiting.
So it's basically gonna be us screaming over each other.
1,000%.
2 hours.
Gang.
So this weekend was, I think, the pinnacle of humanity. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
100%.
So
100%.
Retiring from life
the 2 episodes we're going to cover real quick just to give somebody, give the listeners an idea. Avengers Endgame, 1.2 billion at the weekend. We're gonna.
That's a decent amount of money.
I think so.
Money, right?
It's all right.
Right?
It's crazy. All 3 of us are never gonna make that.
What you mean all 3 of us? You could combine all our bloodlines together.
Whoa. What's this mentality right now? What is it?
Yeah?
You got that champions mentality,
99,
Mamba mentality.
99%er mentality.
We're going to review Avengers Endgame. We're going to spoil the shit out of it, of course. For those who haven't seen it, please go watch it first. That's a bit harsh.
Okay,
That's no. Go watch it, enjoy it, come back, listen to us, chat shit about it. And then, of course, we're going to break down The Long Night, Battle of Winterfell, and we're going to talk that. That's the second episode. But right now, we're going to start Endgame. Start talking about this movie.
I'm pulling out my notes, so before you judge
Pull out your notes, Chris. Pull out your notes. I want to see you pull out things. Notes included.
okay.
Notes included.
Hey, yo.
Okay, heard that.
All right. So Endgame.
Oh, by the way.
Go ahead.
Hisham couldn't make it this week.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God, there's no room here.
Yes. Hisham would have fit. Hisham's a small man.
That's true.
Nah. He's getting Ak. I see those
Aki?
snaps.
Look at
I
these
see those snaps.
shout-outs. This shout-out is amazing. So we're talking Endgame, all right?
Yes,
Quick
we are.
synopsis of the film. Shit happens, obviously, in Infinity War. This is the fallout from that. The consequences. What do our heroes do after Thanos has obliterated half the universe? How do they go about defeating him? And so we pick up what's 3 weeks right after the film. A lot of shit's going on. The heroes get this signal that he has used the stones once more. They go out to him, and I think in the first big surprise of the film, kill him within like the first 15 minutes, right? So Thanos is dead within the
Cuts
first
his head
15
off.
So are we
minutes.
jumping right
That's
into
just
it?
crazy.
Is that what we're doing?
Is that what we're doing? Yeah, I was just giving a quick sort of
Well, not really.
setup.
You're jumping into it.
Wait, is the dude still there? He's gone.
No,
Nah,
he's
gone.
Evan's
The
gone.
goat is gone.
Yeah, Evan's gone. Our tech guy. Yeah, I mean, but that's the setup of the movie, right? And then, because I think everybody, that's when I was lost. After that, I'm like, I have no idea what's happening now.
It's a whole,
Which was great. I think
Yeah.
one of the big, and I have that as a positive here, one of the big positives of that was, for the first time ever, a marketing campaign only told you about like the first 10 minutes of a film. I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea what sort of path they were going to take. So before we head into that, expectations heading into this, where did you think this was going to go down?
Where? What do you mean?
like how big it would be.
Oh.
Yeah. Not location-wise.
That's what I thought.
No, just like where did you think this was going to head?
Fahad, you're our guest. You go first, buddy.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought that the first movie really focused on Thanos.
Yep.
And
Thanos?
His decision making, right?
Yeah.
And why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah,
It really
his
focuses
motivations,
on
yeah.
his journey, and it starts with him, snapping Loki's neck. So
Yeah.
And I think this movie, on the other hand, was more like it was gonna show us what the heroes are gonna do,
Very true, yeah.
and it's more about them. And in terms of that, from that expectation, I thought that they completely fulfilled that. And at the same time, they also showed, and I talked to you about this, and I talked to Chris about this too. It's a Marvel movie. It's a comic book movie. You know what's gonna happen, right?
Right.
I just wanted them to show Thanos the respect.
Right.
that he should get.
Yeah.
Especially after what they established him in the comics and the last movie, and I thought that was
They hit
fulfilled.
those marks.
Yeah,
Chris?
that was really good.
100% concur with Fahad's statements because the first movie was definitely Thanos' movie, and then I knew this movie was going to be like a redemption story for the Avengers. You are right. I think anyone knows what type of movie they're getting,
Right.
but it's just that this is the grandest scale possible. So this is the pinnacle of all superhero movies.
Yeah.
And so I think that expectations, I could say, were kind of astronomical, and that's the most simplified version I can give.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of went into this, in my mind, it was like a season finale.
Yeah.
I thought if this is a TV show, and it's
or series.
yeah, and it's felt like, because it's been 23
Yep. movies
movies long, it's felt like a TV show, right? So for me, this was going to be a season or series finale, and so with that, I am very interested in just the emotional response people have to season finales or series finales, right? Because they rarely are they at the least satisfying. I think very few people, no matter what your favorite TV show is, I really haven't come across one person who said, my favorite episode in that TV show is the finale.
Yeah.
No one's ever said that, right? So I think to hit the notes of a series finale is a completely different challenge than it is to hit the other notes of the prior episodes or movies in this case, right? So with that in mind, right, going into this, it wasn't going to be about the big battle for me. It wasn't going to be that. I knew that was going to be a part of it because it's a superhero movie, right? You're going to get that stuff. So for me, it wasn't going to be about that. It was going to be about, we're going to bring arcs to a close.
Yep.
How are we going to bring those arcs to a close? Are they going to be satisfying or not, right? And are they going to be believable? With that, sort of like both of you said, really, I was completely satisfied, right?
Yep.
Because we had two major arcs that have extended for 10 years now.
Almost as long as Game of Thrones.
Almost as long,
Almost
yeah.
as long
So
as Game of
it's quite a hilariously well-positioned weekend we just went through. But yeah, I thought that they brought the arcs to such a good end, and it met the expectations I had. And then the cherry on top of the cake was that last hour, which is just some obscene,
God.
just some obscene shit. It's just some obscene shit.
Insane.
But I guess we're gonna get into that.
All right.
Do we want to talk positives first? Do we want to talk negatives? Do you want to go through the movie chunk by chunk?
No.
Because that'll be.
That's OD.
I mean, we do have an hour, so we got time.
I think
Do you want to go through positives
I think we
first?
should go through negatives.
Okay,
'Cause
go
we
through
should,
negatives
We should end it
first.
with just
That's
positives.
fine. That's fine. Let's do that.
This
yeah.
This movie was positive.
then
vibes.
Chris is ready to cook this
And then
movie,
jump
yo.
jump in whenever you feel like it, Fahad. Jump right on
Jump
him.
on
Oh, right
me.
now?
Fine,
On
jump
him.
on me.
Now.
No
So-
clothes. No
So,
clothes.
so we're going off the mic. Yeah, this is about to get crazy. So
Okay.
am I start? You starting off? Go ahead.
Because
go
I
ahead.
think we're gonna have
Yeah.
similar gripes with
Okay.
this.
Okay.
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 So
For me-
2v1. 2v1 is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
but okay,
that's
carry
fine.
on.
But for me, I think the main con I have isn't even that like big. I just think the pacing of this movie was a little bit inconsistent
Okay.
here and there. I think the first 2 hours, and I get it's like kind of like build up and whatnot.
Yep.
But I think it goes to like start, stop, and then we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna drive a little bit forward, and then back again, and then lead to the last hour.
Okay.
So it kind of, my attention obviously is gonna be there 100%. I just think that they kind of like lead you, so like they kind of invest you, and then it just kind of just stops. Like there's a momentum going with sort of like a majority of the scenes, and then it just kind of pauses, which is fine.
Is there any scene in particular you thought that
No, I
did
just think
that?
the flow of the movie, or at least the first 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys concur.
Fahad.
For me, I thought that, and being like a DC fan and loving like dark movies, this is gonna sound like a very hypocritical like statement, but I thought that the standard that Marvel has set of having like zingers and like funny jokes in the movie,
Yeah.
I thought I could really hear like just like 3,
Yeah.
not that many, and I feel like, I don't think that the Thor joke was not funny. I just thought that they made the same joke
Yeah.
a few too many
yes,
times.
repetitive.
Especially like when he went back, like it's a heavy scene.
Yeah.
Him seeing his mom's gonna die that day. Like you don't need to milk
Yeah.
that scene. Like you're trying to be funny in the wrong moment,
Yeah.
right? And And you can go. So I'll go about the characters more.
No,
When we
yeah,
go
I
to, like, the
think
negatives.
that's like a Marvel. That's a Marvel
staple, right?
staple.
Like,
of
try to be funny in a insanely
undercutting-
serious situation.
Yeah, undercutting dramatic
Admir's talked
moment.
about this when we talked about the Marvel.
Yeah.
When we gave the report card.
Yeah, we did like a whole sort of breakdown of the Marvel films, and funnily enough, like I compare it to there was one scene in Game of Thrones that showed me the right way to do a joke in a dramatic moment of all shows, really, because I was just watching so much Game of Thrones, and the moment is. This is, I think, season 7 when Jamie is attacking who's Catherine's uncle, I think.
Oh, the fish, the black fish.
The black fish.
Oh,
Tully?
right.
He's attacking the Tully Castle, and Brienne goes to speak to him inside his tent, and Bronn makes
Of
a
course,
crude joke.
of
He makes a hilariously crude joke to Podrick, right? And it's funny, it's hilarious. But the thing is, you get the joke, and then you get the dramatic part of it after, because you still get the conversation between Jamie and Brienne, right? So I think Marvel has learned a little bit from that in this movie, because we got the joke early on when he met with his mother. I still feel like it was a little bit in the way of the dramatic moment, because he does look the way he looks. You'd expect him, since they're going to like Asgard, dude, maybe you should dress up like an Asgardian to just
or like
fit in or
like
something.
at any moment, I was just expecting him to do what he eventually did. Like, just, yeah, you're fat, but you can literally call thunder upon you and become not fat really quickly. I'm like, if I'm
Yeah.
going to visit my mother on her last day,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like try to look like that.
Rebounding off that, I feel like because there's obviously a bunch of them go separate routes, and I feel like a few of those instances were like more emphasized than the others.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about? Like,
yes,
what's
yes, yeah, that I do agree with.
What's her name? The
Natasha, Nat,
no. Thanos' daughter.
oh, Gamora,
No, the other one.
oh, the blue one.
This is-
Nebula.
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 Yeah.
Wow, already.
Y'all trash.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, I was close. He just kept saying Nat, like,
But that was like the main one, and then I think like after that we go to like Thor, and you got the comedy element, and then you got a more dramatic element, and it just didn't feel like it flowed.
Marvel has had a hard time with it. I will say though, I think the beginning of the film was very so the beginning after Thanos dies, right? So we see the 5-year sort of into the future.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I liked it
That was
because
really
again,
good.
it put my phone's blowing up for all the wrong reasons.
Look at that, sponsors.
I have
Yo,
I
you
have
got money, man.
I have a presentation to do next week. So that's
Go.
what that is. No, it's sort of that 5 year like gap was very interesting because it put us in a very uncertain place. And not only that though, I loved the scene with Chris Evans in that sort of support group, right, where he's
Oh, it was
trying to
great.
talk to people about the terrible shit that just happened.
Yep.
And to me, it's hilarious because me and Chris have watched The Leftovers, which is a
that's
terribly sad show, and it deals with a very similar premise.
Yeah,
Funnily
yeah.
enough, right, where people disappear and then the rest of humanity has to cope with that. So it was funny to see the Marvel spin on that situation, which obviously can't be as dramatic as normal people would take it, right? I mean, if you were to think about 5 years in the future, if half of humanity had been eliminated, you know, a lot of society would be a little bit messed up, right? So, but I did appreciate that they took the time to say, okay, so this crazy shit happened. Let's not just get into the crazy shit right away, right? Although they kind of do that when they head to Thanos and they kill him. But there's this pause, and this has to do a little bit with the what were you saying? The
Pacing?
The pacing, right? That it starts out big. They go to Thanos, they kill him, and then it just slows down dramatically because you get that 5 year thing. And I think it is a bit lazy to just do 5 years now. Okay,
Yeah.
fine, whatever, we'll accept it. And then it's really slow because you sort of touch on a lot of the characters and how they're dealing with these consequences, right? And so I personally enjoyed that because we really haven't seen, except for Civil War, we haven't really seen them think about the consequences
Yeah.
of these actions, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And I think that's some of the best moments from these characters because they become human in that sense, right? Because they have to think about, oh shit, like this isn't just about I'm the strongest or he's the strongest or whatever,
Yep.
but we failed. And it's about them coping with failure. And I love Robert Downey Jr. in this movie.
oh my god,
His sort of freak out when he's when he's just saved, right? And he's in that table and they're talking about what they need to do and everything. He's like, we failed, man.
It was fresh too.
Yeah. That looks so real. I
Yeah.
loved it. And he just says, we failed. Cap, like you didn't want to do my shit, and now here we are, we failed. right? He wasn't blame gaming Cap, but he was just saying like, we need to learn to cope with this. This isn't just something we can just fix, as quickly as we did, as it went to shit. So, I personally, the pacing, I think it was an issue. I just like the fact that it was an issue because Infinity War was just pacing at level
fast,
10 for the entire movie, and you can't have that again. Right, you can't, because this is again a series finale in my mind, right? So we can't have nonstop action into a series finale, because then where are your moments? Where is your closure?
Well,
right?
especially when the last hour is that big.
Yeah.
So I understand it to an extent.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fault it completely.
Yeah, could they sort of have done a better job with sort of some of the pacing stuff? I completely agree, but it's almost a good problem that they had in my book. Any other negatives we want to touch upon?
No, I wanted to this. It's been lingering in my head because I don't know if it should be a negative or a positive, and I want you guys to sway me.
Okay.
Because Sway Nation.
Okay.
What did you guys think about the time travel aspect of the movie? Because this was, I feel, my first instinct when I saw it. I was like, I know it's 3 hours. I'm like, but this is a completely different element, and it's a very complex element to pull off time travel, and especially this late into the game and this big of like a scale. I don't know necessarily how I feel about them just kind of I don't know if shoehorn is the right word to say it, but shoehorning the time travel element.
Okay.
What do you think?
Okay, I will say that I don't know what you two's like initial thought was going into the movie, how they would do it.
Okay.
I personally 100% thought that it was going to be something to do with time travel.
Yep.
Because they spend, how many movies did Ant-Man have? 2?
2.
So they spent 2 movies and like hundreds of millions of dollars to establish this whole
Quantum realm.
I knew that was going to be involved.
Like the moment he in one of his, and I think we all, like me and you at least, watched both movies together.
Yeah.
And one of the movies, when he gets caught in that universe,
it's
like
in
when
the
he
second
finds
one,
her mom after
Yeah.
like way later, and then she comes back. That's when you kind of think, you're like, there's no way they're gonna spend that many resources and put that much like Marvel money on the line.
Yeah.
Right.
If they didn't have bigger plans for that movie,
Right.
like with that idea. So that's where I'll say it's not shoehorned, because
But do you think it was
You
too
put-
rushed?
I would say that they could have had something more than a rat bring him back.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's where Tony was like,
Yeah.
that's not really science. Tony's like, what happened to you is like pure luck.
Yeah.
If that rat doesn't walk by there at that point in time, because he was already there for 5 years, who knows how long he would have been stuck
Yeah.
there. I would have just liked to see a more like deliberate event where
Yes.
someone made an effort to go find Ant-Man or like I don't know, just not
Yeah.
like a freak chance event, because now you're like, oh, this all happened because of freak
Well,
chance.
like freak chance, it reminds me of Strange's comment, right? The 1 in 14 million, and
Yep.
I think only 1 in 14 million does a rat step
There's a
on
rat
that
step
button,
on that button.
Buddy.
and lead to this, right? So I think it's definitely that the film constantly leans on this idea of it's a 1 in a
Like a
14
very
million
rare-
shot. Yeah, and I think although the rat, it's very Deus Ex Machina, but at least it does serve the purpose of having Tony be skeptical and having him say, you know what, I have a family, which was great, by the way. It was great to see
That
him with
was,
the
I
kid.
mean,
that was awesome.
I mean, I
That
feel
was
like
awesome.
once you saw that,
Yeah.
you kind of knew. You're
Yeah,
like,
I
"Oh,
mean,
this movie is going down.
There's
a
a big theme of family running
Yeah.
in these movies, and it starts out with just a tangent off real quick. The Hawkeye scene was such a good mood setter.
Massive.
Although it was an odd shift to the first scene, but the scene after that rather. But I love that Hawkeye scene.
Oh, that one for me was one of the best parts of the movie.
It was
Yep.
so good because it just sets this idea of like, oh, that's right. Shit, this isn't great. But to get back to the rat thing, it does put Tony in a position where he has to morally question, what am I doing this for? And overall, I feel like if you trace Iron Man's arcs across all the films that he's appeared in, it's been a transformation of selfishness
Yep.
to selflessness. And every film, I think, has tackled that in a different sort of way. This movie, I think, is the most damning because he's not selfish with himself. He's selfish because he has a family.
Yeah.
So almost, as much as we sympathize with Iron Man in the first film, I sympathize with him tenfold in this one.
Yep.
right? Because it's like, well, he has.
You almost don't want him to save humanity because
You don't, yeah.
this dude has finally found his peace.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years. Everyone's moved on. He's just like, let's just like, because he still tells them, he's like, you guys can still come in and have lunch with us, dinner with us.
Yeah.
As long as you don't talk shop. Like, we're still friends. He was like,
Yeah.
you could have come here for anything
Yeah.
else except for this. Like,
It's-
I'm not gonna risk my family's life again.
It's crazy how like that event, the Thanos snapping and the world disappearing,
Yeah.
like that triggered Tony to live this kind of like
to
lifestyle.
live this kind of
to have
lifestyle.
this, yeah. And so for me, it was such a good. It did serve that purpose of putting him in this uncomfortable position again, where he had to make a decision. And I think every time you have a character make a decision, I think it's great because you put them, you learn about them, right?
You-
and
you
we
learn
learn
more and more.
You
Yeah.
learn so much about who Tony Stark is in this movie. I think much more than the first Iron Man, and
Yeah.
I think much more
Yep.
than the second and third ones, because this is the Iron Man that has everything to lose.
Yep.
I think the first iterations of Iron Man was just his hubris on the line, whereas this one, he's gotten over that, but now he's got the ultimate thing to lose, right?
Yep.
He's got his family to lose. So his arc, I thought we're really tangenting off, but with the rat,
Yeah, with the rat, man.
the rat, but it did put us in a position, I think, where we got to explore that about Tony. Fahad,
Yeah,
did you
no.
have any negatives you wanted to talk about? I'm going to open my second Modelo.
Yeah.
It's a good day. It's a good day.
I will say, this is I'm on the same boat as Chris's second point
Okay.
here. Like, you guys can tell me what you think. Like, give me your honest opinion, because I
I
think
completely didn't even talk about the time shit.
Oh yeah.
Forgot. I was talking about the rat.
shoehorn, right? Yeah, you got
I got caught with the
you
rat.
want to talk about that? Just give us like a quick.
So the time thing. So I literally. So let me read to you the question I wrote. And you know I have no pen in my hand, so you know I had this. So I wrote, do the intricacies of the time element
Chris, go.
confuse or lessen the plot? Right. So for me, I think if you want to get bogged down in the details of that time shit,
I mean, come on, it's a superhero
Yeah, no,
movie.
no.
It's
You're completely right. You're focusing on the wrong thing.
It's a
You're
superhero
gonna
movie.
hate it.
Don't be
You're
worried
gonna-
about quantum. Anytime something scientific happens, quantum physics.
you're gonna
solve
hate it
everything.
because
Yeah.
I don't think there's one. I mean, okay, I'm gonna take that back. I think there's very few time movies that do time travel well, and
Yeah.
this movie almost winks at you in the sense that it does its best to sort of explain what the hell's about to happen, but it doesn't go like, oh, this is Interstellar, for example.
But like for me as a fan, it doesn't have to.
Exactly.
It's a comic book movie.
Exactly. So I think knowing the genre of this film, the time element for me was just a fantastically interesting way to take us down a path where we could explore these characters in
Yep.
different ways.
Yep.
Where we could have Cap, say Hail Hydra.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
great.
Which is crazy, right?
Give us that iconic shot of the first Avengers, where all the Avengers are
Yeah,
like, how
right.
else would we see that shot if they didn't go
was-
through that
yeah.
time
Full circle,
period?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was such a nice way. I mean, yeah, it was fan servicey, of course, but it was such a good way of Marvel saying, you remember these great moments? What if,
Yep.
this, that, the other thing? So it was great for that. We got to see Tony talk to his dad, for
That-
example.
oh.
So
That
you,
was massive.
Yeah.
I think to sum your point up,
Yeah.
the time travel thing has positives and negatives.
Absolutely.
Mostly positives.
I,
Mostly
I see it
of
as
course.
positives because for me, I'm the type of person who looks at a film or most entertainment and says, who are the characters? I really don't care about plot too much. I care a
Yeah.
lot about the characters because the plot is there, but really,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember plots about films that I saw 10 years ago, but I remember
But you
characters.
remember names.
You remember the
lines.
Joker in The Dark Knight?
Yeah, I remember
you
the Joker in the
lines.
Dark Knight, but the only reason I know the Joker in the I've seen it 50
Well,
times,
yeah,
so
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I can recreate the plot, but I can't recreate the plot of like The Godfather, for example, right? It's a 3-hour movie, but I know damn well who the Godfather is, right? I can
You know
quote
the iconic
things.
quotes. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I think in the end, right? I think in the end, the plot should serve the purpose of enhancing our understanding of the characters, right? So if that's the case, and if I view this time element in that sense, it doesn't get crazy. Like if it
Yep.
got absolutely
yeah.
wild, I would be like, yo, what is going on
Yeah.
right
Knew
now?
it what it was.
Yeah. But at least they sort of keep it together for most parts of the film,
Mm-hmm.
and it serves a purpose of enhancing the characters. So in that
Yep.
sense, I view it as a positive. Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree.
All right. I mean, I don't really have another. I mean, the only
Like-
there was a nitpicky scene.
Yeah,
for
go
me.
ahead.
It was a nitpicky scene. It was as soon as Tony kind of rejects the time travel thing, when
Yeah,
they come to
okay.
his crib. The next scene, he gets it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm like, all right.
Oh yeah. I mean, this movie's full of that. I mean,
Yeah.
the Hulk figures out time travel in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So
It just is what it is.
True convenience.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
That's-
they're quote geniuses, so these things happen.
And
but-
also, like, the negative is that no matter what the outcome is, like X-Men did it, like different franchises do. Time travel, let's go back and fix everything. Okay, but like if you want to come at it from that angle, then yes. But they're also going to go into phase 4. Everyone knew this going in. You
Yeah.
know this when you're buying your ticket. You know they're going to go into a whole new phase.
Yeah.
They're trying to close this book.
Yeah.
So going back in time is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Like you said, to tie up a lot of the loose ends, to do a lot of
It
things.
ties it up, and I think it brings so much. It brings so much exposition to characters without having flashbacks, without having people talk about them, and we just straight up see it.
Yep.
And we learn so much about it. So, yeah. Fahad, did you have any negatives?
I don't know if this is a negative or maybe
Okay.
it's a positive.
Maybe.
Because they might have future movies where they use this character.
Is this Captain
more.
America? Because I have that down too.
No, this is Marvel. Cap Marvel.
Cap Marvel,
So
okay.
when I watched the movie, when I watched her like first movie,
Yeah.
I really thought that they would make her like a centerpiece
Okay.
of this movie.
Yeah.
Because of the way they lined it up and the way she talks about, like, I'm saving the whole universe. And
Yeah.
she makes a point of that multiple times last movie and this movie.
Yeah.
That Earth got you guys. The rest of the universe doesn't. So I got to
Don't
go do a
got.
bunch of stuff, right?
Exactly.
So I really wanted her to have like a meatier, like a more in-depth role
Presence.
in this movie.
More presence.
Like, all we got was she came in at the first, and then she's like, "I'm gonna kill him. It doesn't matter what you guys want. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do this solo."
Yeah.
Which shows that she has confidence.
Yeah.
And then they do what they do.
Yeah.
She leaves.
Yeah.
And then she comes back at the very
Yeah.
end. So I just feel like that was very convenient
Yeah.
to just have like
Yeah.
no coordination.
1,000% hear you.
And now your counterpoint might be like, oh, like she's gonna be the centerpiece in the future. Like if you see the fight scenes, you'll see like how they place her
Sure,
around
sure,
the fight
sure.
scenes. So maybe they're gonna do phase 4 with her in charge.
Maybe.
But I just wanted her to see more like go at her with Thanos like a little bit more. Thanos threw her by her feet. Like you hyped her up a lot.
Well,
I wanted to see more.
He had the stone.
The stone,
right?
yep.
Yeah. So
But the first time he didn't use the stone. The second time when she was about to kill him, that's when when he
grabs
switches
the
the
helmet,
stones. She like
Great move, by
switches
the way. I
that
loved
was that, and she okay. Go like our next episode. We're gonna talk about how both moves are very similar with the hand switch. But
Yeah.
yes, very much so, very much so. Anyhow,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like I thought that I wanted to see more of her.
I will say this. I will say this about it's a fair point. So the conveniency of Captain Marvel, I think, I hear you completely. The issue is she is so powerful that I think
Okay.
if she's there for a longer period of time, we don't get that fight. Like
Okay.
we don't get Thor, Cap, Iron Man take on Thanos.
Oh, I mean that was
Because then
and-
the issue gets
yeah.
resolved too quick.
She figures it out quickly.
Yeah.
So I think she's sort of there to say, okay, we're kind of losing the battle. We need somebody to take out this giant ass ship. Yeah, it's convenient, 1,000%. But I think in the scope of whatever the hell happens in that hour, it does get a little bit, kind of good and bad reasons. It gets lost in the mix of everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is very last minute hurrah sort of thing. But I feel like, could they have done a better way of introducing her back into the fight? Yes.
Yeah, but like compare this moment to when Thor comes in
Right.
Infinity War.
right.
You were clapping, like we were hype when he comes in with the thunder situation.
Well,
right?
like, so here's the thing.
like I didn't feel that hype. She comes in and basically destroys any
Yeah.
way for his army
Yeah.
to get out with the ship.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you bring that up because Thor comes in a very similar last-minute hurrah.
Exactly, convenient situation. He's never there for the full
he's
fight,
the-
but we're hyped because they show where he was before.
It's
he
true.
didn't just randomly pull up.
It's true. There is a process to Thor showing
Mm-hmm.
up, and I think the conveniency element of the Thor showing up, I think, is when I can't remember his character's name, the big elf. When he's making
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage's
Dinklage,
character,
Tyrion
when he's
was
making the Stormbreaker,
Uh-huh.
hilarious name. When he's making Stormbreaker, he goes like, "And maybe he could summon the Bifrost," and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, so definitely gonna
You
summon
know
the Bifrost."
he's gonna travel through time.
Oh, that's
know
great!
he's gonna
Boom,
do it,
Thor,
yeah.
right? So I think when you watch it, I think it's just hype because you're right. So I love Thor Ragnarok for a lot of reasons, but I think the number one reason is because we finally got to see Thor, like the real Thor. He gets his thunder, not the god of hammers, but the god of thunder. Does
And you
his
also
shit.
see him get humbled for the first time, and he's like doing his thing.
And he finally becomes, I think, the god that we wanted to see for all these movies. So I think when he shows up, we're carrying that emotion with us. Whereas I think the Captain Marvel, we've only had one film to sort of get used to her, and so her appearance maybe doesn't trigger us as hard. Because also keep in mind, we got so much crazy shit before that, where at that point you're just like, more crazy shit. Like, how much more crazy shit can we get? And then here she comes, right? So I definitely hear you. The conveniency was definitely there. I think they should have found a better way to introduce her back into the fight, but she had to be away for the majority of it in order for us to really get the meaty fights between Thanos and the rest of the guys.
Okay.
And I liked the one-on-one, though, with her and Thanos.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I really liked it.
I mean, that 3-on-1, that like, I've watched that scene like 4 times already on YouTube.
Such a fun fight. And sort of in the future, I think you're definitely right. I think because the villains are going to keep getting more cosmic as we move forward.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to play
Galactus things only.
Yeah, she's going to play a greater role. And I think she's going to have appropriate challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Thanos is the appropriate challenge for Thor, Captain America, Iron Man. Whereas for Captain Marvel, I think someone like
get her
a
own
Galactus or something like that is a more appropriate one. So that's why I was sort of all right with that. You know?
All right. Are we negatives out of the way?
Oh, I have questions. Let me see. Okay. Okay.
All right. We want to talk about the last hour.
Here's an interesting one. So I said, which character did this movie make you like more than any other previous Marvel film? And which one did it make you like less, if any?
Oh, you gotta go first.
I got to think about that. All right. I'm going to do process of elimination because I don't have your answer right away. Okay.
Well, there's like 50 characters, so this will only take a minute.
Okay. So I'm going to cross out Thor.
Okay.
Because I don't know. The movie,
Okay.
didn't change my perception of him. I didn't like him any more than I do. I feel like it's a cop-out answer to say Tony.
Okay. That's fine, dude. There's no cop-out
No,
answer.
no. Because the theme of this session is cop-out, and the next episode especially. So shut your face.
Yeah, it's Cop Out City, bruv.
Cap 2? Those two.
Yeah.
I
mean, you can't say 2. You gotta choose one.
Okay, I'm gonna say Tony.
So you like
Okay.
Tony more at the end of this movie than before?
Yeah, because I think he just is more relatable in this movie. To, of course, the most relatable extent that we could, you have him as this egotistical guy, right?
Yeah.
And he has these flaws, but even though he may come out as pessimistic in this movie, you understand his gripes with the situation.
Yep.
He's very kind of stubborn, but stubborn in the right way.
Right.
You know, there's the long-term plan, obviously, for just people is to do what the Avengers are doing, help out. But personally, he's as good as everything's good for him personally.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
So I think this movie kind of challenges morality for him, and his response is what I think a lot of people's response would be. He's kind of looking at two ends of the spectrum, and he's leaning towards selfishly what's best for him, but he obviously goes the other route.
Right.
And I think it says a lot for people that would be in that situation. So I'm gonna give him that. So yeah,
Nice.
Tony,
Okay.
very relatable in this movie.
Anyone you like less? It doesn't have to be anyone. I mean, it'd be hard to say if you liked anyone less.
How do you say who you like, and then we'll go back to
And then I'll go, and
Yeah,
then we can.
okay.
I get do another round.
I don't want to put Edmund in a tough spot and take the other big character.
No, you. I have my character. I don't think you're gonna say it, but you can go for it.
I would. I'll go with Cap.
Okay.
Cause
Cap.
I've already said earlier,
Yeah.
I'm not a massive Marvel fan, so I was never really a super big Captain America fan.
I'm with you.
Especially because of the
Tidy
political
whitey, yeah.
message and everything that he carried.
Clean
that
cut. Yeah.
that America looks like him.
Yeah.
America's this. America's so great. He's gonna save all of us.
Got a great beard.
Yeah. And this movie, he kind of goes back to basics. He shaves the beard from the last movie.
Yeah.
And he looks just like Civil War Captain America would, let's say, right? And I still related to him more because he's, like you said, that session where that the where they're all in a circle and they're
elevator,
talking
yeah.
about, and you really see that he's been humbled. He's not no matter what, we'll rise up, good will always win kind of, right?
Yeah.
And then you see him make that decision at the end. And Unlike Tony, this
Yeah.
time, once all like boxes are checked, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna make a selfish decision this time.
Yeah.
I'm tired of like I've done my service. I've saved the world enough times. I'm gonna do me this time. I have a promise to keep, and I'm gonna go and keep that promise, and that earned my respect. And in terms of liking a character less, I'll go with, although she kind of came back from the dead, I'll go with Gamora. I feel like her shift from like being a loyal Thanos, so because I don't know if you guys remember where they go to Thanos, like the Thanos that they catch in this movie. Gamora was like one of his best warriors, and she was down for the cause.
So too sudden, you think?
I feel like her shift was really quick. All she got was a sister that has tried to kill her multiple times come up and say, "Oh, our father's not a good man. You got to switch up." And then just takes a couple of little speeches, and then she switches. So
I mean, maybe it's because she does see the consequences of what Thanos does.
Yeah,
Remember, like Nebula plays out all of that.
But I also feel like Gamora always knew kind of what was
I mean,
like she herself was hunting the stones.
That's fair.
What do you think your dad was gonna do once he had the stones?
Yeah, that's true. No, that's true.
And she was trying to kill Quill for a little bit until that changed.
Yeah, I mean, it took a whole movie with Quill to change her, basically.
So you took a whole movie to change that, and here you took 15 minutes. I understand it's a 3-hour movie. You can't give Gamora mad
but
screen
I mean,
time.
like, if it was 3 hours, who cares?
It's fair.
But like,
It's
you see
fair.
what I'm saying,
I
there,
agree.
right? Like,
No.
that's why.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm just like, I mean, you might as well put in more time with it if it's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, because I just thought, because she did play a pivotal role. Her and Nebula sabotaging was big in terms of that. So I just thought, like, that could have used up a little bit
I agree.
more.
That's very valid. I didn't even think of that. So my guy's Hawkeye.
Okay.
Right.
So
Claps,
Hawkeye for me, he captures that existential crisis that should normally follow an event like Thanos' snap, right? Where there is nothing else to live for.
Would you say almost Punisher-like?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yes.
He becomes a bloody vigilante. And I loved it because we don't have one of these in the Marvel universe.
Yes. Here we go.
don't
in
have
this version, like in this cinematic universe,
yeah,
we
not
don't.
Netflix.
Yeah.
So what we have in the movies, we don't have like a badass guy who's like, I got nothing to do except handle people. I'm gonna handle you.
Business.
And I love the setting in Japan, dude. I think it's in Tokyo.
I was like, wait, who is this right now?
He does this.
Heat,
He
bro.
does this. He
And
really
there's,
does
I
it.
don't know. Okay, so the Japanese actor, I don't have his name. He's actually a prominent
That's the dude
actor.
from Daredevil too. I don't know if you caught that.
Was he actually?
He was in Daredevil. He was Daredevil's main villain. He
possible,
was the
it's
ninja
possible.
warrior that was
Yeah.
Daredevil's main villain.
I
So they
loved
actually
it.
had that overlap.
I loved it because it was such a different flavor. Like Marvel, one of the negatives to a lot of Marvel films is they lack a special taste. Each movie lacks a taste.
Yes.
I think if you watch every Marvel film, you can point to the same films. You can go Thor Ragnarok, you can go maybe Civil War, you can go Winter Soldier, have a very specific taste to them, right? Because of the setting, because of the music, because of the colors, because of the style. And so here we get this little segment in Tokyo. It's raining, there's these neon lights. You hit the mics, Fahad. Yeah, it's raining, neon lights. We get this dude in like, he's got the hood on and shit, and he's handling business. There's a sword fight, which is crazy, which we usually don't.
You're not expecting it.
You're not
because
expecting
you're
it.
like, yo, because they killed Thanos. But like, what are they gonna do for the rest of the movie?
Yeah, so it was so good to see that, and I loved his role throughout the film is so interesting because then not only does he deal with the consequences of his family disappearing, but he deals with Nat dying and taking her life while he's literally holding her, right? So she falls. So he has to carry that moving forward, which I think will be interesting for the character. And it put him in such an empathetic position where you have to, for me, you have to love him in this movie because he goes through so much torture, I feel.
agree.
And so for me, definitely number one that I loved.
Yeah.
In terms of hated, you made such a
I mean, you didn't say hate.
or yeah,
Like,
less,
I don't hate Gamora. I don't want people out there to come at me like, yo, why you hating on? I don't hate her.
No, that's fair. I was.
You said
a bit
like
harsh with
less
that.
than before because the last movie I'm like, yo, like because the actress is really good.
No, yeah,
Zoe Saldana.
yeah.
Zoe Saldana
She's
is
fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah.
What
So
a
yeah,
babe.
she's definitely a
Like
big
her,
clip.
like in the first movie, she does. So I just thought they gave her like crap lines.
I guess
movie.
what I would say that I guess my biggest character disappointment really is sort of Thanos's like 4
Minions?
Children?
Yeah. What?
You know his four
Okay.
children?
Yeah,
Oh, like
Squidward.
Ma, the
Yeah, in
big dude.
Infinity War, they do damage. Like
Mm-hmm.
they take on Tony, they take on Doctor Strange,
and they
just thrown
defeat
in.
them. They
They're just
defeat
thrown
them.
in.
yeah, and they defeat
Like-
them. So they're very powerful. I think in this film, they're sort of just there. Like they're not really
Yeah.
doing much. They're sort of just hanging out,
Mm-hmm.
which for me sort of because of. I mean, I already had to get over the fact that they die kind of suddenly in Infinity War as well. So I'm like, okay, here's a second chance with them, and it really doesn't not much happen. So bit of a I don't know.
Say it. Just say it.
Bit of a cop out because
Yeah.
it's not one of the main characters. But I really don't think any of the main characters went down in my books. I think because just simply I can't judge a character because of lack of screen time.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So
Right,
I
right,
think,
right.
and maybe that is what these
Thanos is
children are.
LeBron James, dog. He's carrying this team.
carrying
This
the
movie,
team.
he's carrying this team. Literally, his own two daughters betray him, and the four dudes that are like around him don't really. Ebony Maw, with all his magic, doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do shit.
I don't really
Does
see
not
shit.
do shit. I have another question. Unless we want to get to some positives, let's do some positives, right? Let's do. What's
Okay.
your biggest? Let's do this. What's your favorite scene in the movie? Let's do that. Like favorite. Let's talk 10 seconds.
Favorite scene? Wait, am I going first? Because then I'm gonna take the obvious favorites.
Well, all right.
Whoever goes first gets to take the obvious.
TV,
the other
go.
two people gotta
Just
stay.
You can
go.
go Fod. You can go Fod. I have a couple, so you can go ahead.
I mean, like, can it be like any other scene than Captain America, Iron Man, and
Or
Thor,
just exclude
like,
the
going
last
at it?
hour. Exclude the last
Okay,
You can,
excluding
you
the
can
last
call the
hour.
last hour, but just like not the entire fight. Like, is there
Okay.
any one moment?
No,
Let's
no,
say
no.
a
Make it
moment.
interesting. Not include the last hour.
Oh.
That's a cop.
Okay, all right, we'll do both.
Okay.
Do last hour and then everything before the last hour.
Okay.
Since there's now we're talking about 2 movies.
Okay, everything. Okay, before the last hour.
Yeah.
I don't know. The scene where Thanos walks in with the golden armor.
Okay.
And he has the sword, and he has like blood all over him.
Yeah, he just handled the planet.
Handled a planet, right?
Flex.
And then Gamora and Nebula are like, "Oh, this is like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
This is just."
Yeah.
But see, and that's where like this is just going off a little bit. Like Gamora has been seeing him destroy planets for centuries. Like not for centuries, but for very long. So
think,
how does
though,
now it click in her
I
head now
think
that her sister told her something?
There's a moment in the film where they mention that he just got his first stone. So I think it was sort of. It's like when you hear your parents talk mad shit, and you're like, "Okay, dog, no doubt, no
And then they
doubt."
finally
play it."
follow it up.
and then they do it, and you're like, "Wait, what?"
okay.
So I think it might be
in
that
terms of that.
scenario with Thanos where it was
Where
like,
she was like, it's not just planets anymore. This is
yeah,
about to
where it's like,
go-
oh shit, like we're getting
crazy.
stones now.
Yeah, nah,
like,
it's about to
oh,
get
I thought
insane.
that
Okay.
was down the line, but maybe. I mean, that's
But
just sort of.
I will say that scene
Yeah.
when he walks in, and I remember telling Hisham right after it happened,
Yeah.
I was like, I want to see him fight
Yeah.
because first movie with the stones. In 10 years, you never really saw him fight.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
his fighting ability is really touted. I'm
Yeah.
trying to see him like
Yeah,
go
yeah.
mano a mano,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
get off this gauntlet business. Because I wouldn't fight if I had the gauntlet either. But if you force him to fight, I'm sure he can hold
We
his
can see
own.
what's up. Yeah.
They did it with Hulk.
He did it with Hulk.
Yeah.
He
Which
did it
was
with Hulk.
fun, which was
and
very
and with
fun.
no weapons, no sword, no nothing. That was like a
Yeah.
straight up combo situation,
Yeah.
right? But big scene, I would say. I mean, I don't want to steal the obvious scene.
You
Just
steal
go ahead.
it,
Just go
bro.
ahead.
I didn't. I thought like him breaking Cap's shield
Okay.
was
yeah.
massive.
It was
because
big.
the moment he does that, I think right after that, Captain Marvel pulls up.
Yeah.
Because the moment he does that, you're kind of like he's about to rip his neck
Well,
off.
Cap.
Like he's about to
that's
kill
when,
him. This
that's
is
when
it.
Cap stands up and he's alone and he's just staring at the army. Mm-hmm. Which is insane.
And Thanos is just hanging out at that
Yeah.
point. No one's really on him,
Yeah.
and everyone else is like down. So you're like, yo, Thanos is about to ruin this dude's life right now.
yeah, it's like they open up the wormhole and it's all going to
that
shit.
was my that was my
Nice.
big scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris. Pre and post crazy.
Yeah, pre and post.
I don't know. I can't necessarily pick from that last hour. I have a lot to say about it.
Okay.
After, but yeah, I mean that was a nice scene.
Mm-hmm.
Them coming back. I
Okay.
think everyone coming
When
back.
they pull up.
Yeah.
Yep, that counts. That counts.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
massive.
It was
There's
insane.
like mad
It was
memes on
insane.
that already.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is very underrated.
I'm with my boys.
Bro, he is
Yeah.
insanely underrated.
Yeah, I
No,
mean he's
yeah.
straight up
Bro,
powerful. as
if
shit,
you,
dog.
I think if you rate him, he's up there.
He's
He-
up
oh,
there
he's-
with
oh, yeah,
Wanda.
yeah.
He's-
We don't
him-
know. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know because like the cinematic universe is just wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's top 5.
Oh
He
yeah,
should be
yeah.
top 5.
I'm with you on that.
If you can travel through time, you're automatically like top 4.
Him and Wanda Maximoff, right?
Yep.
Them two make this like even.
Yeah.
I think
Even.
if you take them out, and because Captain Marvel shows a place, if you take them out, this is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is not going anywhere. But yeah.
But no, and then Spider-Man pulls up. And
the crowd went wild for
yeah,
Spider-Man.
he's great. It's just,
No one really got that hype for the other heroes. I mean, our crowd, maybe different crowds in
Maybe.
different places
Yeah,
went
yeah.
crazier for like their heroes,
Yeah.
right?
It's an interesting study.
I guess you gotta watch this across all 5 boroughs and see where people scream the loudest. It's
Maybe
it's good.
varies
Good
by
point.
time, varies
Maybe
by
varies
location.
by
Who
time,
knows?
location.
Who knows?
But he serves his purpose so well because he is the comic relief. He's the youngster
Yeah, he
in
is.
this
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
So him catching the gauntlet and then flying and slinging and whatnot.
Yeah, that hot
Yep.
potato with the gauntlet
yeah, it
was
was
hilarious.
nice.
and I love the interaction between him and
Tony.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh.
Captain
She's
Marvel.
like, he's like, hi Peter Parker. She's like, hey Peter Parker. I'm like, OD. It's a nice little interaction. There's so much shit going on.
I just want to say one thing about Spider-Man. And I told the guys after we watched it. I'm like, at one point, Spider-Man's on a unicorn, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, what is this movie right now? like, what are we watching? Like this is believable. We have gotten to a point in this universe where Spider-Man on a unicorn. I'm like, yeah, no doubt. What's up?
Written by an Asgardian.
Regular shit only, man. Like it's what it was.
Of the galaxy.
Asgardians
Is there
of the
anything?
galaxy.
Is there anything before?
I'm
that moment?
gonna say the beginning scene with Hawkeye.
Okay.
Because
Okay. That's
that
fair.
sets the tone.
Yeah.
Because while you're watching the scene, you're like, oh, this is nice. He's like teaching his daughter, and then he turns around, and I'm like, OD. Like you're so lost in the family moment, and then that hits you, and you're like, I forgot
That's supposed to
Yeah.
happen.
that happens,
Yeah.
and it sets the tone. I loved again them going to Thanos and ripping his head off. I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was the Reality Stone taking effect because
Yo, same.
I was like-
same. I'm like,
because
that was way too easy.
I didn't watch any trailers. That's not a flex. I'm just saying I didn't watch any
Wait,
trailers.
I didn't watch any trailers.
Thank you, Vod.
Hey, yo, this is
I
a
only know
flex.
because of the meme you showed me where he says, like, where has your failure brought
No,
you?
I just told you that. I didn't
Yeah,
send you
yeah,
the
yeah,
email.
yeah. Like, just you telling me that quote.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how I knew that. And that quote was the only thing I knew for the whole movie. I'm
Yeah,
like,
but you
exactly.
thought
this
that
quote
was
is
gonna
good
be-
enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This quote is good
Yeah,
enough for
yeah.
the whole
But
movie.
he has an even better quote in that scene. But we'll talk
Yeah.
about that later. But no, and like they're interrupting Grandpa Thanos' barbecue. Like let that man rock.
This is just picking
Yeah.
corn and just trying to
chilling.
make soup.
He's
Cute
chilling.
white T-shirt.
Yeah, he's chilling.
He's chilling, bro. And it's just like, again, it's the most unpredictable thing of the movie to me
Nice.
because I didn't know where we were going after that. But yeah, that's
We got like 10 minutes left, so we're going to slowly
All right, hurry
wrap
up.
this up. All right, my things, I'm going to go real quickly. Number one, it would have been Tony getting upset in that scene
Oh,
with
yeah,
Cap,
yeah.
but I'm not going to say that one. I'm going to say Tony meets his dad. I thought
Okay.
that was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, how did we? Yeah. how
Yeah,
did
that's
I mean,
Robert Downey Jr. A++ sort of performance there.
100%.
And
I mean, his dad too.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it.
Amazing.
It's such a surreal moment for him where we finally see Tony act like not Tony, where he
Yeah.
breaks down. He's a kid.
when he's
a
trying
kid
to
in front of
like
his
gain
dad.
approval.
because
Yeah.
this
For
is
10 years, he never really tried to gain anyone's approval. Even Pepper, like
never-
he's
yeah,
just trying to like.
this is the only time where Tony's kind of like he's looking at someone that's like above him,
Above
Yeah.
him,
and he knows,
and he
it.
wants to, and he wants the other dude to like not
To-
acknowledge.
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
When he's like, "Thank you," and he hugs. I'm like, "Why are you hugging him? You guys just talk."
Yeah, and I think it's because he loses his father so early in his life.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't understand much of his motivations as a parent, right? So I think that was such a clear-headed moment for him to see like why was his dad the way his dad was for such a long time, and I think it brought him so much closure in that moment. And for me during the fight scene, I can't believe nobody said that. I thought it was gonna be this. It is when Thor's getting his ass whooped. Mjolnir moves.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't.
Okay,
I
I
didn't think that
appreciate it.
scene was like that massive, and I knew
But
you
for
loved
me-
that scene. I heard you clapping when that scene happened.
it just heads right into Cap's hands, and
my
he
God.
just,
Oh, okay.
bro,
That
he
wasn't
just
coming.
gives Thanos a quick. He gives him a combo, and I'm just like, yo, what?
And then once Thor goes, I knew it. It takes you back to Ultron when he had that
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
Exactly. I think there
Thor's
was
like, I knew
I
it.
think somebody from work told me this. There's a quote from the directors that said Cap knew all along he could pick up Mjolnir. He just doesn't do it in that scene in Ultron because it would just be a flex.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's useful.
Yeah.
He needs to do it, and he does
Yep.
it. He handles it. Great moment. Absolutely loved it.
100%, yep.
Now, final thoughts, real quick, because we got to sort of wrap
Okay.
this up. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna say this about the last hour.
Go ahead.
It's gonna be quick. I don't use this term because it is too much
Right.
of like an action, like a too
Yeah.
big of a term.
Yeah.
The last hour of this movie is magic. It's pure movie magic.
1,000%, man.
100%.
It's the epitome of everything we fantasize.
Yeah, we've worked towards.
We've wished for.
Yeah.
It's movie magic, man. It's just, you can't. There's no other emotion you should be feeling in the last hour besides proudfulness. Is that a word?
Pride.
Pride.
Is it pride or is it
It's pride.
Pride?
or proud?
Proudfulness.
Pride.
What?
Let's just keep it
It's
at
pride.
pride.
It's pride. Yeah.
Prideful works
Yes.
too.
What about proudful? Is that a word?
No,
Proudful.
no,
Yeah.
sir.
You can be proudful.
I don't know if
Is it
it's-
proudful?
I don't think proud.
Moving
All right,
on.
But excitement, joy, and
100%.
just sadness because it's gonna end soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Going off of that, like that's fan service. But what's wrong with fan service?
Nothing
Fans
wrong
put
with it.
money in your pockets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Give it
fans
to
are
them, man.
putting money, $1.2 billion and
At the
counting in your
weekend, yeah,
pockets.
yeah.
And so, if this is like the biggest fan service event we've seen in all of television, like what's wrong with that? It's working, right?
Completely hear you.
why
Yeah.
we're there.
Cinema, not television.
Cinema.
Apologize.
Yeah.
We'll get to television.
No, but I
Yeah.
will say that in terms of last thoughts, especially in the last two movies, you can see that Disney and Marvel, like Marvel as a franchise, like a whole group, is
Yeah.
really growing.
Yep.
They really, because at first, I know me and you were never truly like big Marvel fans.
No.
Especially because, like you said, you can think it's a cookie cutter thing.
Yeah.
Villain, small
Shitty villain,
shitty
yeah.
villain, small. They literally had a duo. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy did a dance off.
Yeah,
at the end of the
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
I mean, I love that movie for the
kind of
vibes,
a
but at the
joke,
end,
yeah.
I'm like, come on, man, like Ronan, like what's
Ronan's
wrong?
pretty shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, finally, the last two movies, it's like they listen to all the fans.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? We'll put some depth in.
Yeah.
We'll give you what you want. We'll give you the fights, but like you said, we'll take the time to expand
Yeah.
on the characters
and,
too.
And they
I
give
love
us
that.
what's the quote?
Love
Chris?
that.
You can say the quote.
Oh, Thanos.
Yeah. What's his quote?
He was. It wasn't the one you're talking about.
Oh, which one? You go for it.
I
then.
don't remember what he said. It was just. He was like.
Well, he says
something about the world being annoying.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
So that's when he pivots and he says that I shouldn't have extinguished half of it. I should have
Yeah.
extinguished all of it.
I mean,
and
that
then
once he
built it
says
up.
that, that's when you know, like you're about to catch this.
We
L,
can't
dog.
do this
Like-
now.
Like,
This
you
movie-
fucking-
Thanos out. Thanos out.
Yeah,
You're gonna kill all
but
of
no,
us.
the thing I'm talking about is I am inevitable, which I love.
Oh.
I love.
Instagram caption incoming.
1,000%.
Once all the spoilers
It's
are
right-
gone.
it's right
once
up
I got
there
a couple of
with-
weeks. Instagram caption.
It's
incoming.
right up
Keep
there
an eye
with
out.
if you want a whore, buy her.
If you want to whore, buy her.
If you want a queen, you gotta earn
If you
her.
want a
So it's right up
queen-
there.
Oh,
This is for
Jesus.
guys
But 2
though.
minutes
This is
later-
for dudes. This is for dudes. The I am inevitable is for dudes. Final shout out to Cap's ending in this movie.
Oh, it was
Oh
great.
my god.
I loved it. Brought me a little bit hazily eyed,
Teary-eyed.
teary eyed. I loved it. Time magic wise, don't know how convenient that was. Don't give a shit.
Yeah. No.
Don't give a shit because I love Chris Evans' performance in that last moment where he's just old as shit and he's so calm and happy with his life. And I'm
And-
like, yo, yes, dog. Like this dude did not live a regular life. He lived in a time period he's not supposed to live in. He does not have the love of his life. He doesn't get any of that. And you pointed it out. He does the reverse Stark. And I love the fact that you can have both arcs in this movie. You can start selfless and get to selfish and still love the character because they're doing something for themselves. And you can love Tony for going the other route and doing something for humanity. Conveniences aside, whatever this movie is. Yeah, the fact that like Stark armor can handle 6 Infinity Stones.
I mean, it's not even. I mean, we'll just say in the comics, he does design an armor.
He does, but this is too.
So we're
too-
just
yeah.
in the movies. They should have mentioned it at least once, like
Yeah.
where he goes, "Oh, just in case if we need it." Like I got the
Yeah,
juice,
yeah.
but they never mentioned it.
So, yeah, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a it was such a good finale. I think you can have different films in this movie that you love, but I think as a finale, it serves so many purposes and it brings us to such a nice close. So I'll end it with our scores. I'm gonna go 8.5. Loved it a whole lot. Brought a lot of things to an end. You have to, unfortunately, set aside a lot of plot devices in order to love it. I'm willing to do that. We're at 8.5. Scores?
I'll go with a 9 to
Okay.
be honest,
Okay.
because if I think Infinity War I rated a 9 too.
Yeah.
So if I'm going off of that scale. If Infinity War
you
was a
loved it.
9,
Yep.
this was on par because
Beautiful.
it was a very different type of movie.
Yeah.
Didn't focus on the destruction of humanity and instead gave us hope.
Yeah.
And although I'm not usually the type to have like, oh, let's all have hope and it's gonna be great, but the movie framed it in such a way
You follow it.
that you liked it. You're like, okay, I can live with this. I
I
can
hear
live
you.
with this.
I hear you. Chris?
I talked to Admir about this. I enjoyed Infinity War more.
Yep.
That's understandable. Yep.
But I do think this is a more. I think it's a better movie. I think it's just a
As
bit-
a film, yeah.
As a film, it's better.
Yeah, I think so.
But I enjoy Infinity more. Like I had fun, and I had fun with
Like
both.
you
but-
can probably rewatch Infinity War
more than
way
this.
more than
I
this.
watched Infinity War already like 6-7 times just in the past 3
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
I'm probably gonna watch it
which
like
is
tonight too. Who
odd,
knows?
yeah. Which is odd that this movie's probably less rewatchable,
Yeah,
but
but
more
it's-
memorable.
yeah.
But the last hour,
yeah.
the last hour
I mean,
of this
that-
movie,
that's
like,
just-
it just takes it into. That's why it's
Yeah.
it's probably gonna take Avatar's record just
Good.
on the
It'd be
force of that
nice.
last
It'd
hour.
be nice. So, Chris,
But no, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 as well.
nice.
8.5, okay.
Great.
That's cool.
Great. So I'm gonna head out and tell Evan to just pause for a second because I got to take a.
Yeah,
A
me too. Me
whiz.
too. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's always a good time. Thanks
Evan,
for
are you
having
there?
me.
I don't think Evan is there. Do you want to head outside and knock on his door? Somebody, please.
I'll do it.
Oh, I
He's
think- I
coughing,
think I
so
can
just
hear him.
poke your head out.
What do I tell him?
Yeah, just tell him. Can we just pause for
I mean,
a
I
second?
feel I
Let's
do
use the
feel bad
bathroom.
for him. My dude was like,
I felt so bad. So the tech guy, the story is the tech guy here at the studio didn't watch Endgame, which is hilarious.
so he had to like
Leave the
for the first segment of the show.
What are the chances?
His reaction was insane.